Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Humans at American Comics. Start stirring Wanda. Chapter 1. Westview Town, 5 years later. Westview Town. The morning sun shone through the thin clouds and shone unsparingly on the town. According to our station's news, after 5 years of disappearance, most people are returning to the right track. The TV in the cafe broadcasts a piece of news. Lee, 5 years have passed since awakening came, how do you feel? Receptionist Johnson withdrew his gaze from the screen and looked at the yellow-skinned young man at the opposite table. It's amazing, 5 years of change is just a matter of seconds for me. Lee Z put down the coffee cup upon hearing the sound, thought for a while and replied, it's just a dream. The second half of the sentence is Lee Z's true inner thoughts. Everything is like a dream to him, because he is a glorious traveler. Almost a year ago, Lee Z traveled to this world. Time travel is already dreamy enough, but this is still a Marvel universe. And the timeline has progressed to after the Avengers Alliance 4 war, the farce of Thanos snapping his fingers has been settled, and the people who disappeared 5 years later came back and brought him here. You gain 5 years of hiatus, but you lose 5 years of shit. Johnson made a joke to ease the atmosphere. Maybe it's a good thing, see you tomorrow. Lee Z drank the last sip of coffee, turned around and strode out the door. Anyway, it's been almost a year since I came, and it's not a bad thing to spend the rest of my life at Marvel. Open black lens bracket ding. The host successfully hid for 8 months, please continue to work hard. Close black lens bracket. Just as he was thinking about the reminder sound in his mind, he interrupted his thoughts. 4 more months. Lee Z was a little distressed. As a glorious traveler, he also has the system gold finger. However, his system is a hidden system. As the name suggests, by hiding one's own strength, one can obtain rewards. And the longer you hide, the stronger and more rewards you get. The minimum time limit is 1 year. Lee Z now needs to hide for at least 1 year before he can get rewards. If it is exposed halfway, all previous efforts will be wasted. And the system will also limit the hidden range. The host must stay within the specified range. If it leaves the specified range for more than a week, it will be judged as a failure. The current system stipulates that he can only stay in Zijing Town and some surrounding areas. That's right, Westview Town. It is the town controlled by Scarlet Witch Wanda in WandaVision. When Lee Z heard the news, he greeted all the 18 generations of the system's ancestors. Hiding in Zijing Town is equivalent to the opening hell mode. He doesn't want to be controlled by Wanda, because the controlled person will always live in pain and be eroded and hurt by origin magic power all the time. It is no exaggeration to describe life as worse than death. Fortunately, the system has a conscience and gave him a novice reward for self-protection. Open black lens bracket ability close black lens bracket, create magic. Open black lens bracket grade close black lens bracket, S+ grade. Introduction. Create magic. As the level increases, you can use it to create everything. Even create everyone's ideal utopia. Creating magic is easy to understand. In fact, it is similar to the creator's ability, which can create everything. However, currently Lee Z's level of creative magic is not the highest. The most high level is not SSR. Definitely this is just a novice reward, if it is a hidden reward after 1 year. I can't imagine how powerful it will be. Only. With his current strength, he doesn't have any problems dealing with Wanda definitely, but he can't solve it quietly. Be clear that Wanda at this stage is infinitely close to the existence of a single universe. Not only that, but he is also a master of magic. Lee Z's current level of magic creation is at most evenly divided in front of her. If it is a forced shot, it will only make the hidden mission fail, and he does not want to give up the reward. After all, strength is very important if you want to survive in Marvel. But, Lee Z can persuade Wanda before she becomes demonic, and avoid the tragedy of Westview Town later. According to the development of the plot, Wanda should be in grief at this time, and the reason why she chose Westview Town is that Vision had prepared a house for her here. But the house was not finished, it was just a vacant lot. Lee Z intends to sit on the sidelines and wait for Wanda to come to Westview Town. As for why not use magic to find it? Using psychic magic on a magician who is good at psychic ability is simply courting death. If detected, it would still lead to exposure. So we can only wait for Wanda to appear. Unconsciously, Already at the community apartment building, Zijing Town is different from ordinary small towns. It has a large area and all kinds of facilities. It is not so much a town as a small city. Li Zi just walked to the stairs and met the resident Josh. A tall and thin young man with a somewhat immature appearance. He shook his bag. Li, I will pay you the rent later, I will go to the bank. Well, don't wait too long. Li Zi didn't pay much attention. After he came here, he inexplicably inherited an apartment building in the community. The only thing he has to do every month is to collect rent. Coupled with the hidden system, he has nothing to do except lie down in a day. When he returned to his home on the top floor of the apartment, the first thing he did was to lie on the sofa and browse the news on his mobile phone, so as to live the life of the elderly in advance. The events of Spider-Man 2 haven't happened yet. Li Zi looked around, but didn't find any news about Night Monkey Man. It seems that the timeline has not yet reached Spider-Man 2. According to the development of the story, Peter Parker went to Venice with the school, 8 or 9 months after the end of Avengers 4. According to Li Zi's judgment based on time travel, Peter's encounter with the mysterious guest will happen recently. It was also through the plot of Spider-Man 2 that Peter Parker's identity was exposed. 3 insects in the same frame are probably not far away. Li Zi thinks about the sequence of events on the timeline, knowing that events will happen in advance, he has to make good use of them. After all, it is the second gold finger besides the system. Thinking about it, he got up from the sofa and took a bottle of iced Coke, and after a few sips, there was a slight sound of footsteps outside the door. Josh is back so soon. Li Zi subconsciously glanced at the time on the watch, and only 10 minutes had passed. Boom boom boom. At the moment the knock on the door has sounded. Not Josh. Just a light knock on the door can tell that it's definitely not Josh. Li Zi wondered who would come to him at this point. Wait a minute, here we come. Click. Is there any room available? Outside the door. A perfect woman with long black hair and slender thighs was standing at the door, wearing a red coat with long black hair and a shawl. Her skin was fair, her clear eyes revealed melancholy, and her thin lips were as delicate as rose red. Li Zi looked at the woman outside the door and froze for a moment. Wanda looked at the dazed young man with some doubts, waved her hand and said softly, "Hello, I'm Wanda Maximov. Is there any room available?" Chapter 2. Yes, you came just in time, and there happens to be another room next door. At the door, Li Zi realized that he was a little distracted, and quickly pointed to the next room. In fact, he can't be blamed for being distracted. It's really surprising that the future Marvel female devil will come to your door by herself. Moreover, Wanda has telepathy ability, able to read the thoughts of others. Li Zi is a little worried that her secret will be discovered. After all, her origin magic power is extremely powerful in mind manipulation. It can even control the way of thinking of the entire universe. Fortunately, Wanda looked gloomy and didn't pay attention to him at all. What happened with Vision hit her hard. But at the end of the episode, I regained my sanity, and then I got hallucinations due to the influence of black magic. Lead to complete demonization. I want to move in today. Wanda said a little weakly. No problem, you can move in after paying the rent. Also, my name is Li Zi. Li Zi didn't refuse, because he knew that if he refused, Wanda would most likely use magic to change his mind directly. This is why medieval Europeans feared witches. They didn't even spare a sexy version of the witch. For you. Wanda was polite enough to see that the young landlord in front of her didn't have any malice, so she didn't do any mind reading, and chose to move in with her bags after paying the rent in a hurry. Obviously, Wanda, who is now immersed in grief, doesn't care about other things at all. When Li Zi returned home, his expression gradually became serious. Although he had expected Wanda to appear, but now that she suddenly appeared, he was a little caught off guard. He knows in his heart that there is no time indicated in the episode, but WandaVision also takes place almost a year after Avengers Alliance 4. Possibly after the events of Spider-Man vs. Mysterio. It's just that a movie is a movie, and now it's reality. Accidents may happen at any time. If Wanda's thoughts are affected and such thoughts are born in advance, the town will suffer. So now Westview may be controlled by origin magic power at any time. When his Westview town hiding place is useless, he doesn't want to live in Gensokyo. Also don't want to give up the bonus of hiding for a year. It's a little troublesome. It seems that the plan is about to start. Li Zi sat on the sofa and pondered for a long time. Talking to himself. Whoosh. A golden light glowed between his open hands, condensing into a protective cover. During this period of time, he has been tinkering with creation magic, and the protective cover is made with creation magic. It's dangerous to walk the streets of America, let alone Marvel's America. Not to mention the World War on Earth, even the World War in the universe is concentrated in the old and beautiful New York. It's so dangerous, so it's natural to have the whole life-saving thing. Definitely the original creation magic can protect people, but the effect is not as good as the newly created magic. And the point of creating magic is to create new things. As stated in the introduction, it can create everything. Call. Li Zi clenched his fist into a raging fire, wrapped his fist, and opened his hand again to instantly turn into ice. Clouds of cold air filled the space and raged around. Holding the coke in his left hand, he could see the water molecules freezing at a speed visible to the naked eye. And the touched water molecules in the surrounding air gradually turned into ice cubes and appeared in the air. It has evolved to be able to manipulate elemental molecules at will. There is no accident for Li Zi. This is the power of creating magic. He can control any element in the universe as he likes. All can be used to create desired objects. This time, he created many other new things, most of which are magic and ability, fire, thunder, ocean, and some special weapons, which can also be said to be artifacts. As for the ability to completely distort reality, it cannot be done for the time being. Distort reality and completely changing reality are two different things. Because the former is temporary while the latter is permanent. Boom boom boom. A knock on the door interrupted my thoughts. Lee, I'm here to deliver the money. Don't think too much about such a heavy knock on the door, it must be Josh who just came back from the bank. This guy looks weak, but his temperament is very similar to the first thing his ancestors did when they came to this land. Cruel and vulgar, and who knows, what made him look so vain. Remember to be on time next time. Li Zi opened the door, took the money and gave a customary order. Lee, is there someone living next door to you? Josh glanced at the next room, a little surprised. Leave new neighbors alone. Before closing the door, Li Zi saw his little eyes and asked again. He didn't want another lunatic on the street tomorrow. Wanda is not as easy to talk to as before, and no one will end well for those who provoke her. I know. Josh muttered a few words and went downstairs to go home. The other side. On the balcony, Li Zi basked in the sun and lived the life of an elderly person until the sun rose above his head, and he didn't go out to eat again at lunchtime. As a senior 007, he was not good at cooking in his previous life, nor did he have time to cook. There is time after crossing, but the habit remains. Every day I choose to eat at the restaurant not far downstairs. Click. As soon as Li Zi went out, she saw the door of the next room opened, and a woman with a unique and sexy style of white Americans came out. Her perfect body, Duan Yi, was very attractive. Wanda, are you going out too? Li Zi was a little surprised. Well, the gas in the room is not turned on, so go out for lunch. Wanda responded nonchalantly. Sorry, I forgot to wait 2 days for gas. Li Zi realized when he heard this that the gas needs to be turned off when the room is unoccupied, but he definitely doesn't believe that Wanda can't cook. For a magician, creating flames is an easy task. Not to mention Wanda, who can bend reality. At this stage of anger, Wanda can even use origin magic power to rule the entire city, distorting all reality wherever it reaches. As an apology, you can buy me a meal. What Wanda said in front of him made him deeply astonished and surprised. Don't think too much, just eat. As she spoke, she rubbed her hands uncomfortably in her pockets. No problem. Li Zi noticed her movements and immediately realized that Wanda probably had no money. This information did not make him nervous, but relieved. At the same time, it also intensified his desire to save the frustrated woman. Because Wanda did not choose to use magic to solve the problem, it means that Li Zi's previous views were somewhat biased. At this stage, Wanda still has a kind heart in her heart. At least the obsession hasn't started yet. There is still a chance to save everything. Chapter 3. Westview Town is a small town with complete facilities. It is more like a town, with a playground and a food street all the way to the end. There are several shops open at noon. There is not much passenger flow, and a few guests are sparsely sitting on chairs. Chinese food. The boss grew up in wuxia and learned good cooking. Li Zi sat down in his usual seat, the warm autumn sunshine shining on his face outside the window. Looking at the woman who was eating food in front of her, she said slowly, "I haven't eaten Chinese food yet, but it tastes good." Wanda ate the braised pork in the bowl with a fork, and the corners of her mouth were slightly stained with oil when she spoke. Those bewitching and beautiful eyes revealed the lingering melancholy just like in the movie. "Wanda, did you move here for work?" Naturally, Li Zi would not let go of such a good opportunity, and chose to ask directly. I have no other plans at the moment, I just want to settle down here." Wanda was slightly taken aback when she heard this, and then changed the subject. "You don't know me. You are an Avenger, and I think there are very few people who don't know you." Li Zi replied, "I'm not famous, and not all Avengers are popular." Wanda shook her head. "In fact, after 5 years of precipitation, I am far less famous than before. In addition, I am not very famous, and few people know it." Definitely asking this is not narcissism, but simply wants to change the subject. But all Avengers are heroes, and sometimes they just can't help themselves. Li Zi watched Wanda subconsciously clench the hand of the fork in her hand, softly comforting her. "Thanks." The gloomy eyes of Wanda showed that she didn't want to talk about the Avengers. "The environment in Westview Town is good. I heard that many people choose to come here for vacation." Ahem, it's actually a marketing gimmick. Zijing Town is not as beautiful as imagined. Li Zi choked when he heard this sentence. Others can't hear other meanings. As an insider, he feels that Wanda's words are completely like an evaluation made by an emperor after choosing a city. "When I was a kid, I yearned for sitcoms, where people have a happy life, they never seem to cry for life, and everything is going well." Wanda said with her beautiful eyes slightly sunken, and sighed deeply. "Because they are optimistic and yearn for hope." Li Zi could feel the woman's depressed mood, and even feel the origin magic power in her body, and it became very strange with the mood swings, as if everything around her was being affected. As a time traveler, he knows Wanda's mood at the moment. She grew up in the flames of war, and the environment was dark and gray. Although the sitcoms on TV were black and white, they were one of the few that could bring joy in her childhood. Even Wanda's fantasy world created with origin magic power plays out in sitcom style. Some people say that it is Wanda's call for hope from the bottom of her heart, and it is also her subconscious to ask the world for help. That's why she finally chose to stop. Optimism. Wanda was talking to herself, when something suddenly came to her mind. She quickly wiped her mouth and stood up. "Li, thank you for your lunch, I have to leave earlier, bye." Bye. Li Zi originally wanted to follow out because he hadn't figured out what Wanda was thinking. After all, judging from the current timeline, Wanda's control of Westview Town may happen at any time, and he didn't expect to become someone else's fantasy town hidden away. However, if you follow out rashly, it will definitely arouse the disgust of others. Moreover, this matter will happen for a while, and it is estimated that it is impossible to happen within a few hours. So put it aside for now. And at the same time, Wanda left the restaurant and went to the deserted street and opened her hands. The strange magic of chaos appeared in the palms, wrapped her whole body, and was lifted up and flew towards the sky. In the eyes of outsiders, there are no objects in deep space. Moment. With the help of magic, Wanda came to a building. The building was heavily guarded, and men in black were everywhere patrolling outside with guns in hand. She landed and walked straight towards the interior of the building. When she came to the lobby near the elevator, someone at the front desk spotted her and hurried out to block her, saying in a deep voice, "I'm sorry, ma'am, you can't go in. Step aside." Wanda's tone was indifferent, and a faint reddish light flickered in her eyes, ready to come out. It seems as if it will be poured out in the next second. "She's Wanda. Maximov, let her in." At this time, a low voice sounded in the ear of the front desk. "Yes." The receptionist looked up at Wanda and said slowly, "Go in." He raised his hand and opened the elevator door. Wanda was puzzled, looking at the camera above her head with indifferent eyes. She felt that the man knew that she was coming, and also knew what she was going to do here. But the other party actually let him in. Moment. The elevator started and carried Wanda down to the underground laboratory. The heavy iron door slowly opened, and a man in a suit and leather shoes was already waiting here. Hayward, director of the Heavenly Sword Bureau. Hayward held out his hand politely and smiled. What did you let me in for? Wanda was a little puzzled. PLZ, follow me. Hayward did not speak directly, but pushed open the door and walked towards the central area of the laboratory. Wanda behind her was puzzled, but still followed through the special glass door and walked into the exhibition hall. Then the sound of mechanical disassembly rang in my ears. Wanda glanced down, then turned to look at Hayward. What is this? Why are you showing me this? Didn't you say before that you want to see him? Hayward responded lightly. Wanda's heart tightened when she heard this. As if realizing something, she turned around stiffly and looked down. If you look closely, you can see a robot being dismembered by the staff, using high-speed cutting tools to cut off all the thighs and arms. As the staff dispersed, the top view finally saw the robot's head clearly. It is a former Avengers member, Vision. It's just that at this moment, he lost his vitality, and the dark red of the previous body also turned gray. Stop, stop. Wanda witnessed the dismantling of her former love. Her eyes turned red unconsciously, and she asked tremblingly, why, what are you doing? We are dismantling the most sophisticated and advanced sentient weapon ever created. Hayward looked flat, as if explaining an understatement. But Vision is not a weapon, you can't do that. Wanda defended inexplicably. Actually, the Heavenly Sword Bureau is legally and morally obliged to do so. Hayward explained unhurriedly. I just want to bury him properly, that's my only request. Wanda suppressed the emotions in her heart and said her request. You sure? Hayward continued. Not everyone has this ability to bring their soulmate back online. Sorry, Wanda is not yours, and no one can bring him back to life. I won't let you take this vibranium worth $2 billion and bury it in the soil. Wanda looked at Vision below with a slightly dull expression. Obviously she was not listening to Hayward. For a moment, the eyes of the beautiful eyes glowed with a faint gleam, and the dark red flowed. I don't know what to think. Chapter 4. At the same time. Westview Town, community apartment. Top floor room. The doors and windows are closed. At this moment, the starlight in the room filled the entire space, and it circulated above the head for a while and gradually converged into a river of stars. Looking at the vast expanse, there are dots of stars all over. The surrounding environment also became quiet and silent, as if in a deserted forest. Accompanied by the buzzing sound, a ball of light passed by like a meteor. Standing under the galaxy, Li quickly grabbed the spot of light and held it urgently in his hand. He looked at the trembling ball of light in his hand with satisfaction, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It's done. A few words, Avada Kedavra, emerged from the ball of light that spread out his trembling hands. Avada Kedavra is exactly a killing curse in Harry Potter, a black magic often used by Voldemort. It is also one of the most powerful black magic in Harry Potter and one of the 3 unforgivable curses. Those who are cursed will die without leaving any scars. Kill without a trace. Li created this magic spell by creating magic based on the concept of magic seen in his previous life. Besides, during this period of travel, he also used creative magic to create many previous life movies, or strange abilities and certain items in other works. Such as Devil Fruit, Golden Light Curse, Apparition, the defective version of the Emperor of Heaven, Chinese zodiac charms. These items are all stored in the carry bag. As for the storage bag, it is naturally also a product of creating magic. After coming to this world, Li's daily life is to lie flat, so most of the time is spent creating more magic or items. Anyway, there is not too much ability, and it is even more impossible to have too much life-saving things. At one point he even wanted to create new infinite gems, which definitely turned out to be impossible. Each infinite gems is equivalent to a part of the universe originally, containing supreme energy, and it is impossible to create it with Li's current ability. Call. Li absorbed the light ball in his hand, and looked at the time that several hours had passed. However, Wanda next door has remained silent. It is inevitable that people are a little worried. After all, Wanda may lose control at any time now. But fortunately, there is no perception of any threat for the time being. If it is covered by origin magic power, it is impossible to escape his perception. Li got up and waved away the bright galaxy above his head, and the quiet and dark room returned to normal in an instant. The closed curtains and windows opened. Boom boom boom. At this time, the door was finally knocked. Is Lee at home? With such a heavy knock on the door, it must be that guy Josh without thinking too much. What's the matter with me? Lee Z pushed open the door. The vain Josh stood outside the door, gasping for breath. He seemed to have just run up from downstairs, with one hand resting on the door frame. There is something urgent. Hurry up, I'm going out to eat later. Lee Z glanced at the time, and it was already dinner time. Shiete, Lee, it's only 6 o'clock, aren't all Chinese people 007, the buddy who works with me is almost killing me. Josh slowed down and complained. As a principled person, you must never miss the best meal time. Lee Z replied lightly, I have a relative who is going to live in Zijing Town for a while, but she has no place to live and needs my help. Josh continued, she will be here in a few hours, can you give me a temporary room? It will only take half a month. I remember you had 2 rooms. Lee Z was speechless, that's all. No, I have more gadgets, you know, do me a favor, I don't want to live with Aunt Agnes. Josh raised his eyebrows. He usually likes to be alone, and he can't accept living with outsiders at all. That's why I rushed to rent a temporary room. Wait, what's your aunt's name? Lee Z caught a name keenly and said with a serious expression. Agnes. Josh froze and replied, is there any problem? No problem, I can temporarily rent you for half a month. Lee Z was sure he heard it right. A dark light flashed in his eyes and he agreed to his request. Because Agnes is the alias of Agatha Nix, she is the witch who appeared in Wanda and Vision, lurking beside Wanda in an attempt to obtain her origin magic power. Now that I came here, there is a high probability that I came here for Wanda. As for how she came to be Aunt Josh, for one of the most powerful witches on Earth. But it was a breeze. As for agreeing to Josh's request, it was simply to keep Agatha in sight so as not to cause other troubles. After all, Agatha's strength is actually comparable to that of Wanda at this stage. Even Wanda would find it hard to detect if he wanted to do something behind his back. Lee Z sent Josh away, closed the door and sat on the sofa. Hey, here comes another trouble. Zijing Town is really not a geomantic treasure. Chapter 5. Evening. Westview Town. A Chinese restaurant in Food Street. Lee Z was sitting by the window eating spicy hot pot, looking up from the window from time to time. Even though the autumn cold had made the glass covered with a layer of frost, it did not prevent him from enjoying the sunset. The sky is slightly bright and red, and the setting sun is gradually setting. Not far from the Hubo in Junzi Park, the rippling lake surface under the setting sun is reflected crystal clear. Facing the evening breeze, passing passengers enjoy the short-term comfort after get-off work. It's no wonder Vision chose to settle here. In the past few months, Lee Z has seen this scene countless times. After experiencing the afterglow of sunset in 3 seasons, different weather and seasons give people different feelings. Maybe next year will be boring. Just looking at it, a hand patted on his shoulder. Hey, Lee, thank you for the rental. It's Josh. Lee Z turned his head to look, and the woman behind this guy caught his attention. It was a young woman with a kind face, giving her the feeling of being a good neighbor. But looking carefully at the turbidity of the vicissitudes of life in the eyes, it is also creepy and weird. The woman is none other than Agatha Nix, one of the oldest witches on Earth today, and one of the strongest. From the Middle Ages to modern times, she used different identities to travel around the world to absorb black magic, and even took the lives of countless people, just to obtain black magic to improve her own strength. Oh, forgot to introduce, she is my Aunt Agnes. Josh noticed his landlord's gaze, and immediately patted his head, stepped aside and smiled. Hello, I'm Lee Z, Victor Lee. Lee Z just took a glance and looked away, with a smile on the corner of his mouth. I heard Josh mention you on the way. I heard that you are from Wuxia. I thought you would be Jack Chang. Agatha didn't notice the difference, and exchanged a few words briefly. After a while, Josh took her away. The two of them were passing by to say hello and buy a Chinese meal to go back. It seemed that Agatha was planning to try a new dish. Old witch, there is something. Lee Z watched the two go away, sneered and said to himself. But I have to say, Agatha's hidden ability is really strong. She is worthy of being an old witch who has lived for hundreds of years, and quietly became Josh's unnecessary aunt. And without any flaws. It's no wonder that in the series, even Scarlet Witch Wanda didn't notice anything, and was always lurking by her side. It wasn't until Agatha revealed her identity in the end that Wanda reacted belatedly. Everything was set by Agatha. Poor Josh, he's about to become a victim of the witch war. He shook his head. In the Marvel Universe, the lives of ordinary people are the least valuable. A big battle can kill countless soldiers, not to mention unarmed ordinary people. Leaving the restaurant and walking out facing the evening wind, gusts of gentle wind brushed against my face. Wanda. Not long after Lizzie walked out, he caught a familiar figure in the crowd of couples. Among the hustle and bustle of the crowd, Wanda stood alone in the cold evening wind like an object left in a corner, with a dazed expression, as if she had lost her soul. Let the passing crowd push and push. She was emotionally unstable. Lizzie could feel that the origin magic power in her body became more and more chaotic. In fact, in the Wanda and Vision episode, the reason why Wanda would do that is largely due to the influence of origin magic power. After all, origin magic power was originally all about evil and demons. That's why Agatha Nix would want to deprive origin magic power, because it fits perfectly with the Dark God book. Thinking, Lizzie had already walked to Wanda's side, pretending to be puzzled. Wanda, don't you want to go back? The nightlife in Westview Town is the same as most places in America, it's not very good. Indeed, there are many tourists in Zijing Town, and the area is not small. Many local gangsters like to commit crimes at night, robbing tourists or local cowardly people. I just came back from outside and was about to go back. Wanda wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, obviously not wanting to be seen by an acquaintance. It happened to be on the way back together. Lizzie is well aware of at the moment Wanda's feelings, and when she sees her pretending to be strong, she can't help but feel pity in her heart. At this time, he suddenly remembered one thing. It seems that the Tianjin Bureau has a base in a city near Zijing Town. And Wanda left in a hurry today, and came back with more emotional fluctuations. Obviously, she went to the Tianjin Bureau headquarters in the afternoon to look for Vision's body. As a traverser, Lizzie naturally knew that Vision's body had been broken down by the Tianjin Bureau. Wanda is the existence of the perception less than Vision, and the emotions are also accelerating towards a complete collapse. Lizzie thought about finding a way to appease Wanda. Okay. Wanda glanced to see that it was late, and nodded. Just finished. She turned her head and saw Lizzie showing a sunny smile. Actually, it's safer to go back with you. Recently, Zijing Town is not peaceful, and people often block the road and rob. Why, you are a man. Wanda made a polite remark. Because you are an Avenger, you have the ability that ordinary people don't have. Come and fight one by one. Seeing her answer, Lizzie was relieved. It looked like she wasn't too unwilling to chat, and the situation wasn't too bad. I'm just lucky. My ability brought me nothing, and I still have nothing in the end. When Wanda heard this, her expression became more gloomy and she sighed deeply. Family, lover, friends. In the end there was nothing. Even Captain America, the only good thing ever, was old and passed away a few months ago. No, someday you'll find the good in something, Lizzie said slowly. Benefit. Wanda was slightly taken aback when she heard this. The good thing, all she has now is endless pain. Unconsciously, the two had already walked to the dimly lit street. When the community apartment was first built, the location was relatively remote in order to provide a quiet living environment. Suddenly, there was a sharp sound in the alley ahead, followed by miserable cries and calls for help. Hand over all the valuables. You better be more acquainted. Fack. Squat down. As soon as the fierce sound fell, the sound of heavy objects falling to the ground followed, and someone fell down and groaned in pain. It seems that coming back with you is the right choice. Lizzie was stunned, looked at Wanda beside him and smiled. These robbers are really unlucky. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.